Hey everyone, welcome back and thank you so much for being super patient and for all your engagement and support to my channel so far. As you may have already gathered, this is the final chapter for our first-person shooter tutorial for Unreal Engine 4. The next tutorial will be done in Unreal Engine 5 and I will be posting a couple of bonus videos in between for things like creating an in-game menu or using external apps and resources to help you with creating your own game. If there's anything specific you would like to see me cover, please feel free to leave a comment and I will do my best to get it done as well. But anyways, we have a lot to cover today, so let's get started, and of course I will leave links in the description for all previous tutorials in case you need to go back for any references. So the first thing we will be talking about today is a concept called GreyBoxing, and as you can see I've deleted all the objects from the level to give us a fresh start. Oh, and by the way, apologies for the strange aspect ratio and resolution, it's only for the first few minutes of the video. So GreyBoxing is a very simple but very important concept, and it's basically the idea of adding objects to your level and only applying minimal or no materials at all so that you don't add any pressure on your CPU and GPU but still be able to create inspiration for what you want your level to look like. So that's exactly what I'm doing now. I'm just adding very simple objects around the level just to give me an idea of how I want the level to look like. And again, as you can see, I'm not adding any materials or particle effects or anything that would potentially have any pressure on the CPU or GPU. So of course you don't have to follow exactly what I'm doing here. You can create your own level and make inspiration for how you want your level to look like. What I will do is I will fast forward through this part just to show you what I've done, and we'll move on to creating some of the objects and blueprints that we are going to learn today. So this is what I ended up with, and again, you don't have to follow. Of course, feel free to do so if you'd like to, but I've created some walls for sort of inspiration so that the enemies can spawn behind, and a building as well for the same concept, so we can spawn enemies inside here. Added few lights here, and I've added some flames just to represent that damage actor that we've created previously. But apart from that, as you can see, quite simple. Nothing really complicated, so we're gonna leave it at this for now, and we're gonna start creating some of the components that we are gonna be working on today. The last thing I'm going to do here is remove the visual lines from the line trace blueprint that we've created previously, because we are of course going to be creating bullets, so we don't really need that anymore. Right, let's actually start by creating a bullet. So go to the folder of your choice, right click and create blueprint class and select actor. We're going to name this bullet 1, and let's open it up to add a few components that we are going to be using. So go to the top left where it says add component, and the first thing we're going to add here is a collision. So we're going to go for a collision sphere. And then what you need to do is click and hold, drag that collision sphere onto the bullet itself, so make that the main component on there. And then the second component we're going to add is a cone, so nice and simple, just type in cone and add that. That's going to sort of represent the shape of the bullet for now, and we're obviously going to change it later, so don't worry about it too much, just make sure that it's within the collision sphere. And then the last component we're going to add is the movement of the bullet itself. So if you type in move and select projectile movement, and that will be it for now. Hit compile and save, and let's move on to some settings. So the first thing we're going to select is the spear, and in the settings on the right hand side you want to scroll down where you can find the section for collision, and then under collision presets we want to select block all. And then the second thing we're going to select is the cone, and in the same section for collision the preset will be no collision. Compile that and save it, and then select the projectile movement, and we want the initial speed to be 10,000, max speed 10,000 as well, and then scroll down all the way to where it says velocity, and you want the X to be 10,000 as well. Be careful though, because when you save that, it probably, yep, it has, so make sure you go back up and change the max speed back to 10,000, because for some reason it takes it back to 0 once you've saved it. Awesome, so let's compile that and save it, and then what we're going to do now is we're going to hit simulate so we can see how the bullet is moving. As you can see, it's not moving in the right direction, so we're just going to select the cone and rotate it to make sure that it's pointing the right way. Compile that and save it, and we'll hit simulation again to see if that's gonna be moving the correct way now. So that looks okay to me, so we'll hit that again just to make sure. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so that's all good for now. And then what we're gonna do now is create the blueprint to make sure that the bullet is firing off the weapon. In previous tutorials, we've created an input to fire the weapon, if you remember, in project settings. So if you haven't already done that, then you need to go to project settings to input and create a input for firing your weapon. So normally this would have to be done within the character because it's an input, and the input has to be within a pawn because it has to have a controller. But I actually found a really nice trick that would allow us to create the input within the weapon itself. So this is what we're going to be doing now. So let's go to the folder where you've saved your weapon, your rifle, and in the viewport we're going to need to add one component before we move forward. So again, go to the top left, add component, and we're looking for an arrow. So just type in arrow and add that. And this is basically where the bullet is going to be coming out from. So position it where you need the bullet to be coming from. Obviously that's going to be the barrel. So I'm going to position that now and get it to the right size, and we should be all good to go there. Okay, so compile that and save it, and then let's go to the event graph, and we want to start by adding that input. So right click and type in fire weapon or whatever you've named the input, and let's select that. Drag from where it says pressed, and we want to put in a spawn actor from class. So our class is obviously going to be the bullet, so type in the name of the bullet and select it. And then let's get the arrow reference, so if you want to drag and get arrow, and then from spawn transform you want to type in make transform and select that node. So this is basically going to be our location, rotation and scale for the bullet. And then from the arrow, drag and type in get world location, so that's going to be the location for the arrow, and let's connect that to the location in the make transform. Drag again and type in get forward vector. We can just drag that and connect it to the rotation as well, and it will automatically create a node that's called rotation from vector. So that's the engine doing some work for you there. Let's compile that and save it. I'm just going to show you here that if I go and press play and I'm clicking the fire weapon button on my mouse but nothing is going on, because as I mentioned, normally you're not able to do an input inside a weapon. That has to be within a pawn, not an actor, because it needs a controller. However, let's go back and I will show you a very neat trick that will allow us to do it within the weapon. So that will then be really good for the future if you want to do multiple weapons and you want each one to have its own input. So going back to the event graph, we will right click and type in event, and let's do event begin play. And from here we are going to type in enable, and you want the node that says enable input. The player controller is going to be our player controller, so type in get player controller, and the target is going to be self, so we'll leave that as it is. And now if we compile and save and go back to play, as you can see we are spawning bullets on the fire weapon input. I mean, the bullets are massive and they're not moving, so that's an issue we need to address, but at least we're spawning the bullets, so the enable input within the weapon blueprint is actually working. Right, let's go address those issues. So let's go back to the bullet one, and the first thing we're going to do is actually find a bullet mesh, because we have access to that, we may as well change it now. So let's go to the FES weapon bundle and look for some of the meshes in here. So if we open up weapons meshes, So you've got loads of bullets here that we can choose from, and let's have a look. So this one looks nice, so we'll just find out what's it called, and then we can go and add that to our bullet. So we'll change it in the static mesh. Make sure to go down to the material and just hit the set to default to make sure that you bring in the material for the bullet shell as well. Right, so let's go back to the bullet and find out why it's getting stuck in the air. The only thing I can think of is maybe we can check should bounce, so let's check that and save and go back and start shooting, and there we go, it's working fine now. I mean, the bullet is probably bouncing all over the place, but that's not an issue. Let's go just a little bit closer to it all. There we go. So yeah, the bullet is bouncing, so you basically just created yourself some ricochet rounds. Not bad. I'm just gonna go back and make it a little bit bigger so we can see it, and let's save that and just go back, and yeah, that looks good to me. Perfect. So let's go back to the bullet one, and in the event graph we are going to create what that bullet does when it hits an enemy. So let's erase everything in here, right click and type in event hit, and from other let's drag and type in actor has tag. So we're gonna set the tags later on to the AI when we have some AI in the level. For now, let's just call it ads, and then what we're gonna do is drag from the top and get a branch, and in the branch the condition is going to be that the actor has to have a tag, so we'll connect that together. If it is not true, so if it's false, then we're going to destroy actor, so we're going to destroy the bullet. So if the actor doesn't have a tag, then the bullet will disappear eventually. Okay, let's compile that and save it. We'll just go and test it out to make sure it's working. Cool, so that looks good to me. So let's go back to the rifle one actor, and after we've spawned the bullets, let's drag and type in spawn emitter attachment, and that's going to be our muzzle flash. So the first thing we're going to do here is attach where we want the muzzle flash to be coming from. Again, that's obviously going to be from the barrel, so let's attach that to the arrow that we've created. And then let's go and find a nice looking muzzle flash that we're going to attach. So go back to the weapons folder, and that looks good to me. We'll just have a look around. Yeah, that looks okay. So basically you can keep it selected and just go back to the rifle one, and you just need to hit the arrow to plug it in. So that's all good. So let's save that and compile it, and let's go see how it looks. Yeah, that looks good. It's not perfect, but it looks okay. I think we can adjust it later and make it look better. But for now, I think that looks really good. The other thing you can do as well is move where the arrow is, and that will obviously move where the bullet is coming from and where the muzzle flash is coming from as well. So let's test that and just see if it makes any difference. Okay, so the next thing we're going to create is some sounds. So we're going to go to the military door weapons folder to see what sounds you would like to have for your rifle. And when you're happy with the ones you like, just select all of them, copy them, create a new folder inside the FPS weapon bundle, and let's call that sounds. We're going to paste these here, and we're going to create a sound cue. So let's right click, and under sounds we want to select sound cue, and let's call that rifle sounds. Double click to open it up. So the first thing we're going to do is right click and type in random. Then in the folder of your sounds, make sure that you have all the sounds you chose selected. Not sure how I ended up with this one, so I'm just going to delete it. Once you've selected all the sounds, what you want to do is drag and drop them inside the sound cue blueprint, and let's attach that window back up to maximize it. In here you will need to add as many inputs on the randomer as you need. and then start connecting all your sounds to the inputs and the output to the output. Save it and you can test it by pressing play at the top left. And as you can see, or rather hear, it's playing one random sound every time you press the button. Cool, so that's all set for now. We can exit out of that and let's go back to the Rifle 1 blueprint. From the spawn emitter attached, you want to drag out and type in spawn sound. And the one we are looking for is spawn sound at location. In here, the first thing we're going to select is the sound cue that we've just created. And then from the location, let's drag out and type in get world location. And then finally, we want to drag all the way back here from where the arrow is and make sure that this is connected to the target of the world location. Okay, so let's save that and go and test it. And there we go, so we're now spawning bullets with a muzzle flash and we have random sounds as well. So the next thing we'll work on is AI, so I'm just gonna do something simple to have some sort of a test subject in the scene or in the level to make sure that whatever we're gonna do after is gonna work. So in the third person blueprint folder, let's right click and select a blueprint class, and this time we are going to select a character. We're gonna name this ADU1. And double click to open it up. So you have a capsule here, you need to add a mesh. So again, to keep it nice and simple, we're just going to add the Unreal Engine mannequin and just make sure to adjust it so the foot is just outside the capsule. And then we can add a little bit of animation. I'm a bit confused. Oh, I'm not actually on the mesh, so make sure you select the mesh before you apply any animation. And again, let's keep it simple, and I'm just going to add the third person anim BP. We're going to change the material on the body as well in a second to make it look different, but for now I'm just going to drag it into the level, and something I've just noticed that it's not facing the right way, so let's just go back and rotate it and make sure that it's pointing in the same direction as this blue arrow. And then let's go back to the mesh, just double click to open it up, and we can simply just change the color of the mesh here, which will apply it to the mannequin. Right, so before we go any further, let's open up the project settings again and go into input. And what I'd like to add here is a aim down sight button, so let's add that to the action mapping. We'll call it ADS. And that will of course be the right click or right mouse button. Cool, so that's all set. Just leave it there, and then we're going to go to the third person character blueprint, right click and type in ADS, which is the input that we've just created. So from here we want to create a new variable, and this variable we're going to name it ADS on, and then save it. And you want to change it to a boolean. And drag it out, and we want to set this variable. And if you click Ctrl W, it will make a duplicate. So you need two of them. One connected to pressed and one connected to released. And obviously one is going to be ticked, so that's aiming down sight, and the other one is for releasing the button. So we're going to get a reference to the follow camera here, so drag that out and it will give you a reference to the follow camera. From there you want to drag out and type in set field of view. And again we're going to duplicate that, connect both to targets, so connect the camera, to both of set field view targets, and connect the output from the ADS on to the set field of view input, as you can see. So when we release, we want to go back to normal field of view, which is 90. And then when we press the button, we want to zoom in by about 50%. So let's test that out and see how it looks. Yeah, okay, so it's not too bad. I mean, obviously the animation is not great, and it's very simple concept of ADS. There's a lot more that you can do to make it look much better. But again, this is just to test things out and give you an idea of how things work. Okay, doke, so let's go back to the bullet one, and I'm actually going to erase all of this, and we're going to create something new here. So if you click on the sphere, and then that will give you some events on the bottom right, and the one we're looking for is begin overlap. So let's click on the plus icon to add that. And so basically when the sphere overlaps something, it should register what it's actually hitting. So we're gonna drag out and just type in print string. And then let's just go back and hit play, and as you can see at the top left, it is registering the body of the mannequin that we've put, which is perfect. That's exactly what we want to see, because then we can assign damage or other aspects knowing that the bullet can see the object it's overlapping with. So let's go back and delete the print string, and we're going to drag out from other actor and type in cast to ADU1. And then from there, we're gonna drag out and type in apply damage, and let's select that. Drag out from cast field, and let's type in destroy actor and keep that one connected. Okay, let's compile that and save it. I'm just gonna go back, and before I forget, I'm gonna name this ADS just to keep it organized. Okay, so let's go back to the AI that we've just created, and in the event graph we're going to add some blueprints here. Let's get rid of everything that's in there already. We don't need any of that for now. And the first thing we're looking for here is event any damage. So if you right click and type in event any damage and select that node, and then we're going to add a new variable, and we're going to call this health. So this is going to be the AI's health. So click on the button where it says variable, and we're going to name that health ADU. So the type is going to be a float, and then we're going to set the value to 100. And then we need to get the variable, drag out and select float minus float. Connect the damage to the second input, and then we need to set the health ADU variable and connect the output to the health ADU, and then from the event we need to connect directly into the health ADU as well. If that sounds a bit confusing to you, just follow what you can see on the screen. And then from the health ADU variable, we're going to drag out and look for a float less than or equal float. And we also need a branch, so let's drag out and type in branch and select that. So the condition will be connected to that float less than or equal, and then obviously the health ADU variable will be connected to the branch as well. So from true, we are looking for a blueprint called play animation mesh. And then what we're going to do as well is drag out from play animation and type in destroy actor, so that when the animation is finished, the character can then disappear. Right, let's take it back out, maximize it, and then before we go any further, actually let's go back into the bullet one, and we're gonna need to apply damage here. So we're gonna need to connect from cast to ADU1. As ADU1, we need that to apply damage, so connect it from as ADU1 to damaged actor. Right, let's compile that and save it, go back and test it. And okay, so it's destroying the actor, but it's not playing the animation, and I think I know why. Right, okay, so the death animation is not actually connected with the animation blueprint to that mannequin, so I'm just going to remove destroy actor from here for now, and let's just go test it. There you go, so you can see the animation is playing technically, but because there's no proper animation blueprint connected to that mannequin, it's just going back into pose. So yeah, let's keep it simple. I'm gonna go back into ADU1, go to viewport, and I'm actually just gonna change the mannequin to the one that we're already using and the one that we've already created a animation blueprint for. So take it back to SK mannequin and change the blueprint to the animation blueprint that we've created previously, and that will have proper animations in there as well for death animations and stuff. So let's give it a try. There we go, perfect. So a couple of bullets, takes damage, and then death animation occurs. It's not destroying actor yet, so we just need to add that. We probably need to add a delay as well before the actor gets destroyed. Just going to change the material again on the mesh so we can identify it as enemy or AI. So we'll just go for this one. Looks a bit creepy, but that's fine. Cool, so yeah, that's all good. Let's save that. I'm just going to test it out real quick, make sure there are no issues. Okay, perfect. Right, let's go back into ADU1, event graph, and then drag out and type in delay. Let's delay by, I don't know, half a second maybe, and then once the delay is completed, then it can destroy the actor. Right, let's test it out. Okay, so that is actually quite a small delay. Let's do it 3 seconds then. Let's try that, compile and save, test it out again. Yeah, okay, cool, I'm happy with that. And this is just me being picky. You don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I'm just going to duplicate that animation blueprint and change the idle animation for the AI, just because it's annoying me that they both have the same idle animation. So again, you don't have to follow that part, but if you want to, please follow what I'm doing on the screen. Right, so now we're going to create some simple logic for this AI to move around, but for the AI to actually move around the level, you need something called a nav mesh. So in the place actor tab, if you search for nav, just type in nav, and then it should be the third one down where it says nav mesh bounds volume, so that's the one we need to select. So select that, drag it, and place it anywhere in your level. And the reason why I zoomed out is because you need to resize it and make sure that it's covering any areas you want the AI to be able to move to or move within. So let's resize it and make sure that it's covering the ground. So anywhere you see green is where the AI can move to. So just be careful with that, because we can end up putting it on like rooftops, and then, you know, if you don't want the eye chasing you on rooftops, then make sure that that area is not covered. So we're just going to drag our AI characters and duplicate them. We're going to keep it as simple as possible, so we're just going to hide them here, and I want to test something out, so I'm going to put one inside this room as well. and you'll see why I've done that later on. Okay, so let's go back to the ADU1 blueprint, and there's a couple of things we need to do in here. First of all, let's just keep it organized. So we're going to mark all this and name it damage. And then if we go up to the top left, click on the Add Component drop down menu. And this time we're going to be looking for something called AI Perception. So scroll down until you find it, and let's select AI Perception. Okay, so let's click on it, and there's a few settings here that we need to change. So first of all, under AI Perception, there's another drop down menu, so we need to add an array and click to open the drop down menu, and we're looking for AI Site Config. Open it up from the left hand side. As you can see here, there's a sub menu called Sense. You need to open that as well, and then we're going to leave pretty much everything as it is for now. There's just a few things we need to make sure that they are ticked. So the ones we're looking for are going to be under another submenu. It's called Detection by Affiliation, and if you open that up, we need to make sure that everything here is ticked on. So Detect Enemies is already going to be ticked by default, and you want to make sure that you tick the other two as well. Right, so keep scrolling down, and under Events, we're looking for an event called On Target Perception Updated, and then it's AI Perception, so not the first one, it's going to be the second one down. So if we select that, and that gives us this event node. So what we're going to do is we're going to drag out from where it says Actor, and then we're looking for Actor Hashtag. So if you scroll down under Utilities, you should find Actor Hashtag. If you select that, then drag out again from the event itself, and we are looking for a branch. So the condition obviously is going to be that the actor has to have tag, and if that's true, then we're going to ask the AI to move to, and so we'll select that. And so the pawn that the actor is going to move to is yourself, so let's get reference to self, as in the player obviously. And make sure that you connect the target actor on the AI move to node back to the actor input on the on target perception updated. Nice, so that's all good for now. Let's go back to the third person character, and in here we need to make sure that this character has a tag. So in the details tab on the top right, if you go and type in tag, it's just going to make it easier for you to find where you need to go. Type in the tag you want it to be. In my case, I'm just going to name it hero, and then save that. And then we need to go back into the ADU1 and give the same tag, and it has to be exactly the same in the actor hashtag node. Nice, so compile and save, and let's go hit play and test it out. The AI is over there, so I think the perception is not far enough in distance that they can see us from here. There we go, so they're running to us, and if I start shooting, there we go, nice, the animation triggers and then the actor gets destroyed. That's perfect. So if you want, you can go back and change the perception distance and make it a little bit further. Let's go and do that now, actually, just so I can show you something else as well. Nice, so if I go back and press play, you can see that immediately the two AI actors will start running towards us because they can see us. However, what I wanted to show you is the one that's inside the room, because there's a wall between us and it's unable to see the player character. It's not running out of the room and coming to you. And this is, again, very simple AI logic. You can get a lot more complicated than that, and hopefully I'll have time to cover that in future more advanced tutorials. And just to quickly show you what I mean, if I run into the room and the AI spots the character, then it will start running towards it as well. Okay, so this is pretty much everything we need with regards to game mechanics and logic. I know I've said it like 100 times, but this is, again, just for educational purposes. There are so much more that you can do. So if you learn how to do the basics, then that gives you a head start on what you want to achieve. And the last thing we're going to go through now is quickly just to give you a few tips on how to get a head start on level design. And my biggest advice in general is use your resources. Even if you're planning on releasing a game, you can still use online resources or any websites that provide assets for Unreal Engine, and we'll quickly go through how you can manipulate those assets and make them look unique enough for your own game and apply your own ideas to them. So the asset pack that I've used in the intros for this tutorial, it's called the Bunker, and unfortunately it's not for free anymore. It's actually quite expensive, but I did get it for free when I started recording this tutorial. I'm still going to use this as an example just to show you what I've done, and then feel free to apply that to any other asset pack that you'd like to use. So obviously go to the marketplace and download the assets that you need. Then once you've imported it into Unreal Engine, the first thing I like to do is just find the demonstration map or the example map and just go and double click and just have a look around. Just get an idea of what sort of assets you've got within the pack. It can be quite inspirational as well to give you some ideas to what you can potentially implement into your own game. You can even press play and it will put your character inside this map. You can walk around and have a look around and see how it looks. Mainly what I like to do here is again look around, see if there are any particular assets that I need to use in my level. And then there's kind of a cheeky way of doing it. You're not meant to do it this way, but why not? Since we're keeping things simple, what I'm gonna do is literally just select all these assets, select every single mesh inside this map, hit copy, and then go back to my map and then just paste it. So the best thing to do now is to zoom out as far as possible and just put that whole map away from your level, just so you can be able to move in between. And then also be careful, because as you can see, it can bring in like a sky sphere or some global lighting with it as well. And then from here, simply just go find what you like in the map. You can copy it or you can move it across to your map. And then the one advice I'm going to give you here for level design is don't use anything as it's meant to be used. So let's give you an example here for these rails that are meant to be on the ground. I'm not going to put them on the ground. I'm going to rotate them, scale them up, and use them as walls decoration or part of the walls in my level. And then trust me, if you follow that rule, you will end up with really unique looking levels and your designs will be quite interesting. And this will finally conclude our first-person shooter tutorial. Very basic, very simple, just to give you a head start on how to think around game creation and how to know the basics of using Unreal Engine. I'm gonna say one last time, thank you so much for all your support, commitment, and being patient with me, waiting all this time for me to post those tutorials. The next tutorial will be in Unreal Engine 5, of course, and it's going to be a little bit more advanced. I might even use some C++ coding just to give you a little bit of an idea on that as well. And I think the next one we're going to do a third-person action adventure. But of course, if you have any ideas, please do let me know in the comments and I will do my best to try and cover it. Otherwise, as always, thank you very much for watching. Until next time.